everyone, and welcome. It's great to be back with you again to host another discussion with our Claris executives. It's been about 4 months since we've been together, and in that time, a lot has happened. So for today, we're taking a slightly different approach. It's going to be more of a dialogue, and you get a front row seat for the conversation. In it, we're going to ask something different of Brad as well. We're asking him to take off his Claris hat. Instead, we want to have a dialogue with him as a CEO of a mid-market company, so we can discuss the challenges business leaders like him face when implementing their digital strategy. And we're expecting him to bring some hard questions to our team. And that team includes familiar faces like Peter Nelson, Robert Holsey, and Andrew LeCates. Back in April, this team presented a lot about our product strategy, including announcing Claris Studio. Since then, we've been joining you in developer meetups, events, podcasts, live streams, and more. But I'm guessing if you're here today, you're wondering, where are we going with the platform and where are we now? I believe if Brad asks good questions, you're going to get answers to many of the questions you have around that. And it should be fun. It should also be useful. We'll cover a lot today, like requirements and tools and processes for running operations and managing the business better. The things that business leaders care about. So for the developers in the audience, you should leave here today ready to be the digital strategy advisors your companies need. And for our partners here, you should leave today ready to deliver strategy and value in new ways that your customers need. We want you all to leave equipped to advance your own digital strategies. So let's talk to a business leader and his team and see what we might learn. Let me take a minute to formally introduce the team to our audience. We are joined by CEO Brad Freitag. Hi, Brad. Vice President of Engineering, Peter Nelson, Product Owner, Robert Holsey, and Director of Marketing and Evangelism, Andrew LeCates. Hey, guys. Good to see you. Thanks for joining today for the dialogue that we're about to have. So to get us started and to give us some perspective and context, I'm going to start with you, Brad. We'll get to this product-specific questions that you inevitably have for Peter and Robert, but let's start with you. And, again, as a reminder, forget that you're associated with Claris for today. The bottom line is you're a CEO running a business looking for things like growth and productivity. So I'm going to start with what should hopefully be an easy question. What do you think about every day as you're setting your mission for the company?
Yeah, thanks, Janine. Thrilled to be here. And I will do my best to shed my Claris hat. I will try. In how I think about day-to-day operations, it has to start with confidence in our purpose and values, which we've put a lot of time into shaping over the decades, as well having confidence in our mission and our strategies so that our vision becomes clear. And with that intact, it lets me then focus on a daily basis on customer, getting to know our customer better, understand with as much empathy as possible what pains they're experiencing, what ambitions and gains they expect, what work they need to do in order to solve problems in their workplace. And to complement that customer understanding, I need to ensure that I have the right team, the right skills, enough of them, so that we're balanced in taking those customer requirements and then building the products we need and launching those in market. Which is to say, 80% of my work is focused on execution. It's really about the decomposition of vision to strategy to manageable chunks of work over the course of a year or a quarter, where our priorities are set clearly and they're understood across all the functions that depend on each other so that we can execute well as a coordinated company rather than a clumsy company. And that requires time, effort, focus, great management, driven across all of our teams.
Yeah, definitely. So, you talked a lot about understanding the customer and then ultimately getting to a point of execution. So when you think about setting the team, having the right people in place to deliver to your customer and getting to that level of execution, how do you approach that goal, setting the team on the right course? And what are some of your challenges?
Sure. Um, I think about setting the goals in our Scrum framework across our organization. That generally means we're looking at about a 1 quarter horizon that again is decomposed from vision, mission, strategies, our annual plan. And we allocate enough time both to create buy-in, but more importantly, to make sure we're doing the right things, um, to build out a set of priorities, to put everything else in the backlog so we can focus on a very clear chunk of work at any given time. And that's that requires dissemination across hundreds of people. It requires smart experts within the organization advocating for things that really matter. It requires a strong culture where we can learn to be very tough on problems without being tough on people, so that we can do our best work. Uh, and I think for me, for the leadership team, management team, for every employee, that requires a lot of buy-in and understanding, and that's a huge part of the execution.
Right. And it sounds like you sort of mentioned it too, getting the teams all moving in the same direction, completely aligned and having the visibility into those things. So, that gets to the operation itself, running the business operationally. So can you talk a little bit about where your operational challenges are? What tools, systems, people do you turn to in defining a strategic approach to addressing those challenges? And maybe an obvious question, but do you use Claris at Claris?
So you've packed a lot in there, and yes, we do use Claris at Claris, and I'll speak to that.
Yeah.
Working backwards, we uh, don't have an easy place to get experts to guide us. In other words, as a mid-market CEO, I don't have a Gartner I can call and say, "Hey, give me your strategic template for a digital strategy." It's that thing would be worthless to me. And most of the CEOs that I network with in similar size companies say the same things. I think school principals deal with the same set of challenges. So building a brain trust uh, requires networking. It requires reading, staying current on what's happening in the market, determining what is then possible for our organization. Our approach is an agile digital strategy. Um, what what that means is, I need experts. I need people who can bring these things to life. And fortunately, I have trained developers, trained Claris developers who can help me advise, guide what we should do, and likelihood of success. I have partners I can turn to who know our platform, bring expertise in certain areas, whether it's with training and adoption or enhancing a technical competency that we may not have. Um, to your question of how we deploy that on a day-to-day basis, we're running new programs, right? We're releasing new features, new capabilities a lot more quickly than we did in the past, which requires far more coordination between engineering, product, go to market, so that when new capabilities are released, our customers are trained on how to use them, and the timing is coordinated, so we're getting things to market in a way that's elegant and effective for our customers. Um, and that does require really major changes in how we think about and manage our operations. It's I could detail with anecdotes, give examples, whatever you'd like, but when we're moving that quickly, we have to run differently than we did in the past.
Yeah, I mean, feel free if you have, an example of that kind of challenge and the need and where you see yourself trying to fit solutions to address it, go right ahead.
Sure. As we turn to growth and we offer new packages, new capabilities, new messages to, through different channels, um, the the importance of real-time information becomes increasingly critical. From a systems perspective, I have a range of technologies, some kind of bigger, heavier from my parent company, um, chunks of iron that are inflexible, and I need to conform to those. Others that are emerging cloud systems that do specific things for us. We have website analytics. We have, relatively newly introduced bots on our website to improve customer response times and automations. So the landscape has changed really quickly from a systems perspective. What is true for my organization is that my book of customer record has been developed in FileMaker, and that has evolved and iterated over the past decade or two. That's a critical system, but it's it's the collection of information that really makes or breaks our operation and our ability to achieve goals. A lot of that, the updates I've had to chase down, happen in the form of initially phone calls. I start the morning with a marketing phone call to understand what's happening on the website. The middle of the day, I meet with the VP of sales, and we'll go through what's happening as opportunities work their way through our funnel. At the end of the day, I'll meet with accounting to understand what actually closed, and I may wrap up the day with the engineering to understand any breaks we may have, CSAT issues in the system. And I'm able to get all the information, but it's really nice to be able to sit down with my developers who can understand why that's challenging for me, and more importantly, puts a stress on the organization to get all of that information. And then we can talk about what that might look like in a system, in a custom system that provides visibility to all that information. And in very real world examples in the past quarter, that happened. And we kind of went through that iterative cycle over the course of a few weeks to get it all captured, collected into a unified system with a simple dashboard for everybody to access, and brought that to life. And my expectation is we're consistently doing things like that, smaller chunks of work that make us a more effective organization.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that you like to be hands-on and talking to your teams, but I can see the efficiency that is improved when you can get it, self-service at your fingertips without having to call everybody individually. And so to that effect, kind of moving in that direction using tools and technology, I can see Andrew over there chomping to want to get into the conversation. So let me shift. We've heard a lot from Brad, and thank you, Brad, for that context on what your challenges are, what your goals are, and what you're specifically looking for as you're tackling operational effectiveness and technology to support it. I'll ask Andrew, how does the scenario and the experiences that Brad has shared and described inform what we're doing with the Claris platform and the opportunity before us there to help business leaders like Brad?
Thank you, Janine. I'm happy to talk about it. I think I heard a couple of things from Brad right there that definitely align with our thinking and product strategy. So confirming, Brad, I heard you say that at your organization you have just a panoply of technologies, a myriad technologies at your fingertips, and organizing them to get cohesive views on your business is of critical importance. Is that fair summary?
Yeah, absolutely. The information is buried in there somewhere. Creating the views that really drive smart actions by our business is a challenge, and those views change, certainly one quarter to the next, and maybe more frequently than that.
That goes to inform a great deal about where our focus is with the platform, in particular the Claris platform, the new Claris platform that we're moving into the future with. Our mission, going back, Janine, is of course to make our developers more valuable, right? We've said many times over the course of the last year, our developers are central. They're the most important customers we have, but they're also it's not just platitudes. It is fundamental strategy for us as a business. We have to make our developers more valuable and able to deliver more value to our end customers. And our developers already deliver a lot of value, right? For decades, we've been using the power of FileMaker to solve hard problems that matter to businesses. And the systems and apps that they create, do that for any manner of business in all industries and many use cases around the world. But one way we think about categorizing the robustness of that work in solving those hard problems that matter is that they tend to be operations apps, right? They solve for key critical operations in an organization that need to be custom to help differentiate that organization from its competitors or differentiate it in its marketplace. And Claris Pro in the new Claris platform carries forward all of the tooling and experience of FileMaker to continue doing exactly that. But the Claris platform augments that tool set in some critical ways. As Brad just confirmed, and everyone attending here today, I'm sure would also, attest to, the modern business tech stack comprises, many different apps and services and systems. And while FileMaker has always been very strong at integration, the importance of integration is just growing, and it's fundamental. The apps that we build these days are not silos. And further, the value in building custom for organizations is in operations and workflows that are driven by integrated chains of software, right? So we see that this acknowledged by partners in our community, like Proofgeist, who has a terrific podcast, recently ran the AutoEnter conference along with Soliant. And I think Ernest at Proofgeist and Todd have talked around the idea of the modern FileMaker revolution, and it's predicated on an integrated tech stack, right? So in the Claris platform, we include Claris Connect, and Connect will have growing importance and emphasis in the future to allow our developers to rapidly assemble data and automate workflows. Then, given the power of Claris Pro to build powerful operations apps and the ability to integrate and synthesize with other things in your stack, we have Claris Studio. And it gives us an opportunity, or everything that we need to arrive at what Brad was arriving at, right? To build management apps, to get visibility in on key areas of your business. So in Claris Studio, it's largely focused on this. Pete and Robert will speak to the technology, so I won't, but the basic idea is that Claris Studio, built on a cloud native platform with the potential for scale, is a perfect place to assemble all the data from your stack. And then we're building fast and simple tools that go to analytics and dashboards and visibility on aspects of your business. Studio, I think, has other roles to play. For instance, the use case for building public-facing forms to anonymous users or customers at large, but that's also important for bringing in important data to understand your business. So the advantage of the Claris platform is that developers and partners have a broader scope for problem solving, and increased importance, frankly, to executives like Brad. They can deliver more valuable stuff. We think that's powerful. We think it sets up our developers to not just deliver more value and be more valuable to the companies that they improve, but it sets up the scope of our vision with the platform to solve for really the entire business operating system. So we think it's exciting times. We're really excited about where the platform's going and what our developers will do with it.
So let's talk a little bit more about developers, because Brad mentioned that he has teams of people available to support these strategic investments in the technology and the visibility and the management tools that he's looking for. So Brad, back to you. What are you doing to define those working relationships and make sure that you're continuously getting value delivered back to you by leveraging those developers and partners and team members to get you where you want to go from an operational advancement perspective?
I've made a different investment in my communication with those developers so that we can establish a working vocabulary. What's important for developers to understand is that people like me will think in terms of risk. We're happy to take risk. We want to manage the risk as effectively as we can, and we want a high degree of confidence that we can execute whatever bet we make. So with the developers, educating them to understand how I think about risk and ultimately how I make bets has really just been a function of language. There was some training I went through with our organization from Dr. Jeffrey Sutherland, and there's an approach called 5 points. And the sooner any developer can understand this language, the sooner they can really establish a working agreement, a really effective working agreement with a senior level decision maker in their organization. And so the components of 5 points are the goal. What is it? The reasons behind it, why would you do it? How that goal will be measured. And this is a area of discipline that just requires critical upfront thinking, probably a series of conversations with people who could be affected by it to make sure it's captured correctly. But with that captured correctly, it's a lot easier to execute and measure projects. Fourth, to know the return on investment, the ROI. Two components there. What is the cost and what would be the good thing that'll happen when that ends? And then finally, when will it be completed? So for us, the 5 points vocabulary is about what, why, KPI, ROI, and done by. And all of our developers, all my internal developers, the partners I work with are incredibly capable of having those conversations. I think the difference is they need to know that it's important for me to frame decisions in that context so that I can separate imperatives and priorities and really define focused bets that we can make as an organization. There are things within the platform that developers know in the way of databases, logic, scripts. All of that matters. I need to have confidence in their expertise, but we have to find some area to bridge. And this has really changed the dynamics of approved projects within my organization as we've evolved this vocabulary.
Yeah, it's a solid framework. I having experienced it, it does definitely help to get everyone aligned and to do the right things in the right order, right? So that's really helpful context from you. So now that we've talked about kind of what you think about on a day-to-day basis to run the business better, the insights and visibility you need, and the management tools that would help advance, let's now shift from managing the business to the technologies and the platform. Specifically, Andy talked about the direction that we're taking with the Claris platform and the opportunities that presents. We've talked about with you that FileMaker is in use at Claris. So now is your chance to ask our product owner and our vice president of engineering what you need to know as the platform continues to advance from FileMaker to Claris, and so on and so on. So Brad, take it away.
Thank you. Grateful for the opportunity. Let me start with a question for Robert. As I mentioned, I have a team of developers. They're good. They've invested their 10,000 hours to develop expertise as certified FileMaker developers. They're real people. We trust them. They trust us. They add to the working dynamic of our organization. As I hear about this new platform vision, I immediately wondered, is it going to require me to bring in a new team of developers? Am I starting over after years and in some cases decades of investment we've made into developing this sort of expertise that really serves our organization well?
It's a great question, Brad, and one I completely resonates with me as someone that's been in this space for a long time as well. One of the main things I want you and everyone on this call to take away is all the hard work that your developers have put in, both in the training that they've put in to get to this point and actually building the solutions for you. And of course, all the value you've gotten out of those solutions, that's all going to carry over as you migrate to Claris Pro and Claris Server, right? So all of the scripts and layouts and integrations and automations that they've built, those are going to continue to run exactly as they do today. But with the new Claris platform, your developers now have more tools at their disposal, right? They're going to have Connect, as Andy referenced earlier, right? So they're going to be able to more easily integrate with those many systems that you were referring to, right? So data that may have been trapped in those systems can now be centralized. And then they can use Claris Studio to very quickly and easily create views of that data and then distribute that to employees in your organization that may have otherwise not been using FileMaker, right? So said another way, you've got data that was trapped, you've now synthesized that into something meaningful, put it into the hands of more employees. Employees with good data make smarter decisions, which lead to better outcomes to your business. and attacking specifically the comment about, do I need to go learn, or do I need to go recruit new developers or kind of start over? The way that we've built Studio and continue to do with Connect, right, is that same spirit of what FileMaker was 30 years ago, right? It's about lowering that bar of entry so that more people in an organization can express their creativity to solve problems. And so your existing developer that you've got is absolutely going to be able to leverage what they've already learned and take better advantage of these new tools. But you'll also be able to start getting this into the hands of other employees in your organization. So to give you some examples around that, let's say that you've got a event that's coming up and you task your developer with going and building a collection form of folks that they can sign up. That is something that absolutely your developers could do today using FileMaker. But where it may have taken them an hour to do that before, now they're going to be able to do that within minutes in Studio and have a better outcome, because Studio is built such that right out of the box, they're going to get things like dynamically reflowing pages depending on the device that a person came in and connected through. They're going to have scalability that they just wouldn't have been able to replicate using just FileMaker. But better yet, you may not have to actually go to a developer on your team to satisfy that need. The bar being lowered on the Studio side of entry, right? So now that more people in your organization can leverage it, you can start turning to your team leads within your organization, right? So as they're facing challenges, instead of them needing to go to a developer and spend time, start having that dialogue back and forth of figuring out exactly what the developer needs to build for them, they can go do that themselves. And this is really important to you because not only now are you leveraging the people that you already have, they're more empowered, they're able to solve more problems more quickly, right? They're able to take that brain power, that 30 years of experience that they may have had in learning FileMaker, and start applying that to solve more interesting, more challenging problems that are facing your business that are ultimately going to have bigger impacts when solved. Pete, is there anything you want to add to that just from a more technical standpoint?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things to remember as we talk about Claris's journey here and where we're going is that this is a platform strategy. We aren't focused on independent products where you have to pick and choose between them. We're building a suite where each product works with the others and they augment each other. Brad's question goes, though, also to the fact that, your job as a developer today is different than it was 20 or even 10 years ago. The internet connects things in a way that it just didn't before, and your customers expect your products to be accessible anywhere on the planet and to grow as your company grows. Our solution, which bridges existing solutions and these new requirements, has been thoughtfully designed to be elegant and to take advantage of new modern approaches. Claris Studio specifically is designed from the ground up to scale in both user count as well as globally. It's designed to help leverage Claris Pro in that world as well. Its backend is MongoDB, and that's one of the most modern, IT-friendly, shardable databases on the planet. But additionally, we are working with Apple's cloud infrastructure, as well as with AWS and Google, to allow Studio to serve you from data centers around the planet. So our Claris platform allows us to support transactional operations, as it always has, guaranteeing data integrity. And it will also allow us to leverage eventual consistency where that makes sense, to use modern architecture approaches like containerized deployment. And all of that together means we're going to be able to support a much higher volume of interactions with our systems than we've ever been able to support before. And all of that together means an existing Claris developer has more capabilities, is able to build the sorts of apps that they've always built better and faster, and build new types of apps than they've ever been able to put together before with Claris.
So it sounds like I don't need to get rid of my my team of expert developers, and it sounds like there are new tools and capabilities that create more value for them, and ultimately more value for our organization. And you've thought this through. You're not throwing away FileMaker and starting a brand new platform from scratch. This is about a continuous evolution in the platform that we know, trust, and value.
Yeah, when we think, I think it was Janine that said it at the top of the call. When we think about every bit of development that we do, we are doing it with a clear intent of making each and every one of our developers more valuable, making the tools already in their belt more valuable, and adding additional tools to that belt to make them more capable, more valuable Claris developers. So no, you don't want to get rid of them. You probably have to give them all a raise.
They will love that.
Yeah.
Talk about cybersecurity, increased threats. We read about the paper every day. As a business leader, it's an increasing area of vulnerability for me. And whether this is an Andrew, Robert, or Peter question, from a people perspective as well as a systems perspective, how is Claris working to protect me from those threats?
Well, first off, you're very right to be concerned. It's hard to watch the news these days and not come away concerned. We spend an inordinate, still pronouncing that wrong. Anyway, a massive amount of time architecting, building, and validating our products to be secure in a distributed, consistently attacked world. We are part of Apple and have visibility as part of Apple. We host the solution behind Apple managed firewalls and intrusion detection systems. We follow and are audited for compliance against modern best practices around data storage and transmission. Every bit of data in and out of Studio is encrypted. Every bit of data stored at rest in our cloud is encrypted. I manage all Claris development, and I could not personally get access to your data, even if I wanted to. But on top of everything we are doing to ensure the security of our cloud solutions and storage, we are in a unique position in the low-code industry in that we fully support and are architected to support hybrid deployments. So you can put a Claris server on premise and store whatever you'd like to in it, and use that data in conjunction with data stored in Claris Studio in real time in your solutions. And that really leaves you with the best of both worlds and able to craft your deployment strategy bespoke to your company's needs. And nobody else in the industry supports a model like that.
Andrew or Peter, anything you would want to add to Peter's very thorough and comforting response on protections for cybersecurity?
I would double down on his comment that it's right to be afraid. I was privileged not quite a year ago, I guess last fall, to be part of a webinar with Chris Moyer, one of our partners, and Cohen Van Hully from Europe, another partner, and also with Elaine Swen from our internal ops teams. And the discussion was around the modern threat landscape and security. And everything that Pete said is very important. Of course, we've also invested to ensure that we've been certified with ISO certifications around privacy and security, and we have a SOC audit against our internal processes. But there's also a shared responsibility with developers who are deploying on premise, and we don't have purview over the servers that you deploy on premise, right? So there's a shared responsibility that we have. I think the upside is that this community has experience and understanding on this topic. Your developers are trusted advisors on this topic, Brad, and if they need help, there are experts in community that can provide it. So I think all in all, as a platform, we're really solid in providing secure ops apps and more.
That's awesome. Good to know there are additional resources I can turn to. Peter, another question for you as you think about where you're taking the platform. 4 months ago, you announced Claris Studio and provided a developer preview. I know my team has been diving into that and or giving feedback to the organization. What's next? You've talked about changing the cadence, the release cycle. I've heard promises that I will receive more value more frequently, and I'd like visibility into that.
Sure. I think at the absolute highest level, what I would want someone in your position to take away is that the Claris development organization is building not only a product, but it's building a team to build a product. So like you said, 4 months ago, we opened up a developer preview of Claris Studio. We provided support for anonymous data capture that worked along with your Claris Pro solution. And that was, Robert touched on this, functionality that you could build out yourself in Pro on your own previously, but we made it easy. Now that on its own wasn't super powerful, but it was an indication of how the new platform could make something that had once been hard easy. Today, we are proud to announce that we're removing the developer preview tag from Studio and have added really significant new functionality to the Studio offering over the preceding 4 months. We now support much more complex form creation. We support customizable table views for entering and working with your data. We support Kanban views and reports and charting of data stored in Studio. We support a simplified security model where users can be constrained to only seeing certain workflows in Studio. For example, someone like you, Brad, might have access to every single workflow that Studio offers, but some of your employees might be constrained to only seeing those workflows that have to do with purchase request creation or HR management. We've been releasing new functionality every 4 to 6 weeks since the initial Studio rollout, and we expect that pace to accelerate now that we're through a lot of the foundation building phase of standing up something new. Looking forward, I've tasked our engineering organization for January to build Studio into a platform that's capable of building us, within Claris, a replacement for the project management tools that we use in-house so that we can start dogfooding our own solution. The capabilities we add to Studio in that timeframe to create the solution for ourselves will be made available to every one of our developers. And Robert, I think, can give you a much deeper dive into what that looks like, what those exact features and capabilities are, and how some of them will work.
Before we go to Robert, let me just make sure I'm hearing you correctly. You are, as of today, putting your stamp of approval on the product that it is ready to move from developer preview into general availability.
Yes, sir.
And that for January, you're setting an expectation that my team would have the ingredients necessary to build our custom version for project management, the same way we can build other operational apps, so that we get the clarity of focus that these are my company's projects. These are not other people's projects. This is not a packaged application with all the noise and copy and buttons that I don't care about. This is just the stuff that I do care about. And I know that because my developers are building that for me.
Yeah. So first of all, yes, exactly correct. Come January, you will be able to build your own project management solution, and we will validate that by building our own project management solution.
Great. It's exciting.
Thomas?
Sorry, Robert, I interrupted.
So Robert, what's that going to look like? What do we need to be able to build a project management solution?
Absolutely. And your summary there, your ingredients of, giving your developers and the employees at your organization the tools to build something custom, right? That's so critical to what Claris has always been. So some of the things that we're focused on specifically there are taking what you've seen in Claris Studio already, right? We built a lot of the, sort of basic building blocks, and then starting to layer your own business logic on it. So leveraging something similar to what we have in FileMaker with scripts and calculations. And as we're saying here, right, it's just ingredients. It's not just to project management. So you could have situations where, going back to my event example earlier, right, you have someone sign up for an event, depending on the values they select, you may route them to different pages or have different actions take place based on that selection. And when you think about it from the lens of a project management solution, you may have a ticket that goes into a review state. And when that happens, you automatically notify 10 or so people that need to go take action on that. And then in a couple of days, when nothing happens, Brad, you get a notification. You can come down on people and make sure they're doing their jobs, right? So adding that layer of customization, business logic. Another key area is continuing to extend our roles, right? Pete touched on this earlier. We've got the ability for you now to limit a user to a specific view that they're seeing. But we already know just from feedback we've gotten from the community, as well as we start looking at what we would need for projects, we're going to need to be able to start associating a specific record with a particular named user in your organization. So now they know, hey, this ticket got assigned to me, I'm responsible for it. And that's a key building block as we then build out, okay, now when that person signs in, not only are they limited to the views that they've been associated with, but now the records, right? So I come in and I can see now only the records that have been associated to me that I need to take action on. And then another big key area here is the ability to better visualize that data. So we've been talking this whole time about, getting data from these different systems, elevating them so that they're available, within your organization. And we've now already started getting feedback from those in the community that are playing with the developer preview of the types of data and how they would be able to represent it. And as we start sitting down and thinking about what we would need, what we use currently for our project management that's useful, and what we would need, and ultimately what we would want, because right now we're using an off-the-shelf solution that sort of forces us to tailor ourselves to how they've built it. What are the things that we would want and need, and how would we create those to better visualize that data, whether that's through things like dynamic dashboards that are updated as records are coming in, or just additional charting types, or different visualizations that show you burn down status of your projects. And again, those same kinds of things could be applied to lots of different situations, like tracking the health of your events that are being signed up to make sure you're hitting your numbers. In addition to those elements, though, better integration with Connect. Andy talked about this a little bit earlier, making sure that you can leverage the power of Connect across your solution. So we already have the capability of FileMaker Pro triggering Connect flows, and we've got plans to make that even easier for developers within Claris Pro. But then taking that a step further, when you're building solutions in Studio, being able to trigger flows directly from there. So in that form that people have signed up for your event, when they hit that submit button, it's not just sending that data to Studio, but it's also taking their email and registering it in MailChimp for a marketing campaign. Or from a project's perspective, as I'm moving tickets along my Kanban board and the statuses are changing, I can then calculate, okay, well, where does that leave me? Where's my milestones going to land? And then push that through a Connect flow to Google Calendar. So now someone like you, Brad, will have a calendar view of where all those milestones that are expected. And then to ensure that as you are going out, you're trying to interface with different systems, that your developers and the developers in the community can create their own connectors and then share them with each other. Again, a productivity boost, allowing you to more easily integrate with those systems. And then underlining all of this is work that we're doing to make this available to more folks around the world, right? We've got offices all over the world, so making sure that we've got data centers that are available in Asia and Europe, and then we've built in better support for localization and regionalization of things like phone number fields and address blocks so that they fit with your users and customers in those regions. And then one thing I want to just like triple down on, I know we've talked about this a lot, is that it's not some big release that we're going to have in January, right? This is something that we're going to be releasing, as Pete said, every 4 to 6 weeks or faster, and getting those releases, those features into your developers' hands quicker. Now, there's the obvious just value to you, Brad, and your company, right? You're getting more functionality from Claris on a regular basis. But the other really important element of that is that as you're getting that new feature or that capability and your developers are playing with it, they've got an opportunity to give us feedback. What's working well there? Where are we missing things? And that's right within the product. So there's a feedback button they can click on, they can type out where are they feeling friction, what are we missing? And that comes directly to us here in product. We've got presence in the community. We're constantly reaching out and talking to customers. And so as equal as that value of the actual functionality is, I think that feedback loop is incredibly empowering for both Claris and your organizations to work in concert, right? We're working together and defining what this looks like moving forward. So I hope it gives you an idea sort of where we are and for sure where we're heading.
Let me play it back to you because it's a lot to digest. But what you and the team have done so far, you didn't kill FileMaker. In fact, you complemented the architecture with new useful tools that make our existing developers more productive, creating a platform where new capabilities can be released more frequently. You're setting expectations that in the coming months, on 4 to 6 week release cycles, we will be able to do things that we haven't been able to do easily in the past, like custom project management, like building connectors. So not only leveraging the Connect capabilities based on integrations that Claris has developed, but also my developers are going to be able to create their own connections to cloud systems or sources that are important to my organization. The views, the visibility will be specific to roles within the organization, and again, this is on a cadence that in months I can expect the ingredients and the tools in the hands of our developers to start working on this. That's exciting. I will hold you to it.
Sure you will.
Let's say that if I'm to shift my thinking a little bit from the power of new capabilities to the community of people who can work in the platform, maybe Andrew, for you, questions about how we're going to consistently educate the existing developers, my team who know the platform, so that they can leverage the new offering. And probably more importantly, as we think about other areas of our business that we want to take on custom development, we may need more resources. So what about growing the overall size of the developer community?
Terrific question, and an important one. I mean, in the context of everything that Pete and Robert just said, there's just so much information that's coming out that our developers care about, and we need more developers. Janine's on my team, so if Pete has been sort of forcing Robert to sweat a little bit today, I might do the same right now with Janine. We focus on dev relations, and our mission is really to do two things: to attract more developers and to help developers grow their skills, whether technical or professional. We do have some branding that relates to this, in that we have Claris Academy, which is focused on learning content. We have Claris Engage, which is about how we are present, how we engage with the community, and help facilitate network effects amongst developers and ultimately grow that community. We're trying to think more broadly about those brands and that they can be more, like instead of just content for learning by us, that Academy itself can encompass many of the things that are available in our community. All of our strategies go through our developers, right? And there are developers out there producing amazing content. So if we can help to curate the content that's being delivered through live streams and trainings by other organizations. We've also had special programs with organizations like Apple Academies or Quasar to literally put students through courseware to turn them into professional developers that have been very successful. So we think we have a lot of ingredients that are really good, but we can also do some new things, and we have some new opportunities with which to do that. Robert mentioned earlier the relative simplicity of some of the new tools that we're building, right? And we believe that we can facilitate better onboarding experiences, right? I'm able to use Studio right now myself, and it excites me in a way that I haven't felt for a few decades when I was building on that little machine back there with original FileMaker, right? We think it will provide potentially smoother on-ramp to the overall Claris platform for new developers and give us the ability to expand in new ways. There's also a massive game changer coming that we haven't talked about yet, which is that we have intention in the not too distant future to offer a freemium access to the Claris platform. And when we do that, it fundamentally changes the calculus and how we can reach people. We're inspired by our parent company, who has programs called Everyone Can Code, which basically provides courseware for schools to provide access to technologies that are freely available. We could do similar things, and so can our partners. What happens when fmptraining.tv provides content in the course of live streaming that then new developers can come and experience and then take away with them and use. It just gives us a chance to add more value in a learning journey. So we've got lots of things in our backlog, but we have a lot of good ideas and plans there, and we just have to prioritize and figure out what to do first. And then secondly, I would add that, in terms of the community, we have been experimenting a lot with our engagement models. With a continuously improving and advancing product, we have to be present, and we have to be present continuously. So we've been joining developer groups and meetups. We've been joining podcasts and the live streams and forums. We're trying to be present on Discord and Slack forums and more that are out there, as well as our own community. And I think we'll probably want to formalize that, right? And have our office hours in certain spaces and facilitate regular communications through the meetups as well. We want to communicate in ways that work for our developers. Last point on that is we'll also have the ability to do in-product updates, right? And there's a learning center associated with Studio that will allow us to continuously inform our customers when new functionality is coming out. So lots of things on the drawing board for us to play with, but we're really, really excited about the potential in the coming months. So.
And maybe to summarize, make sure I'm hearing this correctly, goals are make existing developers better, grow the volume of developers in the community. I'm hearing emphasis on three things: engage as an event, as a set of community building forums will continue, and it sounds like you're forming a detailed plan to support that strategy. The idea of Claris Academy and enhanced education to support all these new features that are being offered in the platform are commitments that you're going to enhance. And then finally, a strategy around freemium. So we can put the developer capabilities in the hands of theoretically anybody who's curious about building something, trying something, experimenting, and that creates a lot of opportunities for new engagement, education by our partners, whether Claris partners or coding partners. It just opens up a whole universe of possibilities that weren't available in the past. And with those tools, you're confident in the ability to accomplish those two goals.
I am, and I'm excited for it as well. I think developers will benefit, existing developers will benefit from a growing community and the network effects that accrue there. So I think this will be great for us all. Yep.
Janine, I am satisfied. I'm excited about a lot of the content that was embedded in these questions and responses by the team. So Peter, Robert, Andrew, thank you for satisfying all of my curiosities. Back to you, Janine.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a really enlightening discussion. And Andrew, I'm not really scared. I'm not sweating. I'm excited, actually. We need to, and I am committed to making sure that we grow our community and that we make the ones that we have, the developers we have, even stronger and better, adding more value, right? So thank you all so much for this really insightful discussion and for sharing such unique points of view and perspectives. For those of you who've been listening in, our goal was to help you all kind of take the next step by hearing these perspectives to advance your own strategies using technology and the Claris platform in particular. And I don't want to let this moment pass to say again, available today is the general availability, no longer developer preview of the Claris platform. So, more information on that, but that's really exciting and a milestone that we can't let go by without me mentioning it one more time. So, like I said, our goal was to help you take the next step. So let me take a moment to walk you through some of the initial next steps that you can take immediately to get started. Before diving right into those next steps, let me say thank you all for joining us and sticking around. We went a little over on time for today and won't be able to answer questions from the audience, but we know you probably have several. Please share questions in the Claris community, and we'll join you there in the coming days to address them. We'll also post a link to the replay of this session for anyone who missed it. As I said, we want you to be equipped to take some immediate next steps, so I'll walk you through those now. First, stay engaged with us. For our partners, we'll see you for the partner exclusive session coming up in just a few minutes. And we hope everyone will consider joining for another business leader discussion led by Brad Freitag next week. To register, visit claris.com. We hope to see you there. Second, we talked a lot today about defining your digital strategy, and we've created tools to help you define your ideas, prioritize them based on ROI, and gain alignment with key stakeholders so you can advance these strategies. We'll email you a link to download these resources, and they'll also be available for download on claris.com. And finally, starting today, you can get your hands on the new Claris platform. It's now generally available for purchase worldwide. To find the best option for you, simply scan the QR code or click the link we've provided and choose the option that makes the most sense. Once again, thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you again soon.